Hello everyone, SlyJCool here, and today I'm back with another tutorial. In this one, I'm going to be showing you all how to build Hobbit holes. Hobbit holes are a pretty common Minecraft build from what I've seen. A lot of people enjoy building them, and I think they just generally suit Minecraft pretty well. In this video, I'm going to be going over a step-by-step process that I use to make Hobbit holes. This is not a block-by-block tutorial, and I want you to be able to use this method to build multiple Hobbit holes if you so desire. Let's begin with step 1. Step 1. Choosing the blocks you're going to use. I always tend to build somewhat logically when I'm building in Minecraft, so I like to use blocks that are sensibly acquired. This means I won't be using things such as diamond blocks in most of my builds. Some blocks that I believe go well in Hobbit holes include most of the types of wood, mud bricks, normal bricks, most types of terracotta, sandstone, and brown mushroom blocks. The wood is very good for framing and just generally being wood, and then the other stuff looks like plaster or some kind of clay material that would be colored and used for the walls. Sandstone and brown mushroom blocks, although a little bit more diverse, serve generally the same purpose as the terracotta. As you can see here, I have laid out a few different patches of blocks. The section to the far left contains the blocks that are more easily found in Minecraft. These, in my opinion, make the most sense to build Hobbit holes out of. If you were going to build a house, logically, you would use materials that are easy to find. The middle section contains blocks that are more difficult to find and would perhaps be used by someone who is richer and therefore able to import more diverse materials. The section to the far right includes the most exotic blocks that I believe could be reasonably used in Hobbit holes. These would be used by the more rich people building Hobbit holes. Generally, I recommend that you choose one of these types of wood, one of the filling materials, as well as either mud bricks or bricks. Once you've done that, you can move on to the second step. The second step is finding a spot where the Hobbit hole will go. Likely, if you are wanting to build one, you will have already found a spot you want to build in, but here are some things to consider. Number 1, it is generally better if the hill has few trees, especially large trees, so that way you don't need to do as much work to clear it. Generally, you want a hill to be relatively steep. In fact, I'd say this one is a little too shallow, but it will make do with some terraforming. Generally, the goal also is to have a hill that is at least 8 blocks tall, because it makes more sense to build into a hill that has more area to expand into the back, where it would generally make sense for the interior of the Hobbit hole to be. Once you have found a suitable location, it is time to move on to step 3. Step 3 includes laying out the shape that the Hobbit hole will be. This includes creating the arch and then figuring out what other details will go along with it. Generally, I like to create arches that are about 3.5 blocks tall and 11 to 13 blocks wide. I generally use the format of having the edge, the main curve, the top, and then a symmetrical curve on the other side and a symmetrical edge on the other side. I also enjoy adding fences as it adds an additional layer of detail and support. Here is the arch that I'm going to use for the rest of this video. Once you have figured out an arch that will work for your design, you can move on to the third step. In step 3, you will complete the main walls and roof area of the Hobbit hole. What I like to do is go in and fill in with your block that you're going to use for the walls, like this. This is also a good time to figure out where the doors and/or windows are going to be. This is also a good time to bring the grass out to the edge here, and you can see how it's best to only bring it out to the point where it will be covered by at least part of the block, so that there is no point here where a full grass block is showing in the front of the Hobbit hole. Generally, I like to try and create a relatively smooth curve heading back towards the rest of the hill, so that it's slightly more realistic. At this point, you do not need to add any foliage back in, as we will do that in the next step. Step 5 is where all the final details are added, and the entire Hobbit hole really comes together. I will go through a quick list of most of the details I like to add and that I suggest everyone else add when they are finishing up the Hobbit hole. Number 1 is to add a small path leading away from the Hobbit hole to whatever other builds you have in that area you are working in. I also like to add fences to the side, as this helps generally lay out where the path is and helps separate from the grass. It also helps make the area a little more lived in. It is also generally a good idea to add a light source, and a small decoration outside the door such as a lantern and a barrel will do this pretty well. I also like to add in the doors and windows at this time. I elected to use an oak trap door in this, however most types of glass will work as well. Once you have completed this, I also like going in and adding the chimney. Before I do this, I will do a small interior area, generally just the living room, to figure out where the chimney would poke out on the top of the hill. This chimney design is quite simple, where you just have a small thing curving out and then have a campfire inside. Generally, I like to have it at least 2 or 3 blocks tall, because if you think about it, snow will go up quite tall during the winter, if you are thinking realistically about this, and the chimney is going to need to be tall enough to go above that. Once you have completed all that, it is a good idea to add in all the foliage to make this area really feel integrated into the landscape, as I believe most Hobbit holes should feel. And with that, the Hobbit hole is pretty much complete. If you guys would like a tutorial about how I do the interiors of Hobbit holes, let me know in the comment section. If you have any other questions, comments, or concerns about the video, you can leave them there as well. If this was helpful, I would appreciate a like, and thank you for watching.